Hello everyone and welcome to the Daily Signal's Top 10, and today we're counting down the top news stories of the week, many of which have gone either misreported or underreported in the mainstream media. I'm Jenny Maltabano, and here with me to break all of this down is Daily Signal contributor Jarrett Stetman. He's also the co-host of the podcast Right Side of History. Jarrett, it's nice to be back together. It's been a little while.
I do feel it's been quite a long time.
It has. We're going to start the show a little differently. We wanted to share a couple letters we received from you. It's always great hearing from you. Tom Tamarina emailed me about a space policy piece I wrote. President Trump issued a space directive on the eve of a big JFK speech, and Tom actually worked in mission control, and he said it was great to hear about it, so I'll definitely keep an eye on that, and thanks for writing in.
Yeah, and I received an email from Brandon Edwards, who's a frequent emailer of mine, talking about a piece I wrote recently about Trump's executive orders making it easier to fire bad bureaucrats. And I think he made a good point saying that, especially in regards to public sector unions, Trump changed some of the rules on that. Maybe we shouldn't even have these. I think that was a very good point from him.
Thank you. We always love to hear from you. All right, to kick off this week, there's been going about some pretty nasty remarks Samantha Bee made towards Ivanka Trump. President Trump has questioned them. Here is Samantha Bee's apology.
You know, Ivanka, that's a beautiful photo of you and your child, but let me just say, one mother to another, do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless. He listens to you.
All right, so what did you make about this whole controversy? It's the same week that Roseanne was axed, so I know there's already a lot of feelings about what's acceptable, what's not, should people be fired? It seems like everybody has a different opinion.
Yeah, I thought Trump's take was actually pretty good. He didn't outright call for her firing. He says, why hasn't she been fired? We've seen so many other people lose their jobs for politically incorrect comments. Why have her comments not been seen as out of the bounds? Now, you could say, she's a comedian, but she stepped into these things before, especially when at one point, I think it was worse, actually, where she talked about a kid at CPAC who had cancer, and she said he had like a Nazi haircut. Now, she didn't know that at the time when she published the clip, but I still think it was a very bad thing, that, it's kind of a bullying tactic. So there's definitely a double standard in the media when it comes to figures on the right or figures on the left, or figures who are on the left that kind of say things that are pro-Trump, and now the media is going after them.
Yeah,
so
clearly she crossed a line, and it was pretty disgusting. All right, number 9, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is calling out ABC. Watch this.
The president's pointing to the hypocrisy in the media, saying that the most horrible things about this president, and nobody addresses it. Where was Bob Iger's apology to the White House staff for Jamel Hill calling the president and anyone associated with him a white supremacist? To Christians around the world for Joy Behar calling Christianity a mental illness? Where was the apology for Kathy Griffin going on a profane rant against the president on The View after a photo showed her holding President Trump's decapitated head? And where was the apology from Bob Iger for ESPN hiring Keith Olbermann after his numerous expletive-laced tweets attacking the president as a Nazi, and even expanding Olbermann's role after that attack against the president's family? This is a double standard that the president is speaking about. No one is defending her comments. They're inappropriate, but that's what the point that he was making.
So President Trump raised some concerns about double standards when it comes to ABC's Bob Iger. Trump tweeted, well, I never got calls when there were horrible attacks on me. I think we can all say that what Samantha Bee said definitely was at a higher level and was really wrong, but does the president raise an interesting point?
Yeah, I think he does, and I have to say it was a very good response here by Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who has done such a good job in this role. I think, this is a topic we bring up almost every week, Jenny, is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I think she's done an amazing job with the press secretary role, better than almost anybody has that we know in recent memory. What do you think of how she's doing responding to these questions, Jenny?
I have so much admiration for her. I think she does a fantastic job. We know that you all love her, so we'd love to hear what you think, especially about what's happened this week, so please let us know. Number 8, the media is pushing Melania Trump conspiracy theories. Now, we all know Melania Trump, the First Lady, had a fairly serious kidney surgery a couple weeks back, probably more serious than, we realized because she was in the hospital for 5 days or so. The president visited her, and it seems like a lot of the media, they were all too happy to start, oh, she hasn't been seen in 20 days, is she back in New York, or her parents have a house in Maryland? And I love that a couple days ago she tweeted and said, no, I'm here, I'm working on my campaign, this is, classic media coming at me, fake news and whatnot. What did you make about her response?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as far as the speculation goes, there's no, deeper evidence that there's something more serious wrong with her. Or, we're kind of going by what the administration has said. She appears to be fine, and I don't know. I think that the idea that the media is even speculating in this at all strikes me as a little off. What do you think, Ginny?
I agree completely. I don't think it's wholly appropriate. I think if you're going to focus on something with the First Lady, focus on her Be Best campaign that was just announced. Like you said, there's nothing nefarious that's been alluded to, so let her rest and recover, and I have a feeling she'll emerge when it's the right time. Next up, Dinesh D'Souza was recently pardoned. Who's next? We've heard a lot of names thrown around like Martha Stewart, but first, here's Dinesh on Fox and Friends.
And the president said, Dinesh, you've been a great voice for freedom. And he said that, I got to tell you, man to man, you've been screwed. He goes, I've been looking at the case. I knew from the beginning that it was fishy. But he said upon reviewing it, he felt a great injustice had been done, and that using his power, he was going to rectify it, sort of clear the slate. And he said he just wanted me to be out there, to be a bigger voice than ever, defending the principles that I believe in.
So that was Dinesh, clearly elated. But when it comes to presidential pardons, what is your take on this? We were talking earlier.
Well, I mean, it is definitely a long-term presidential power, and Trump has definitely used this recently with Jack Johnson, the boxer, who died many years ago. There was a lot of racial prejudice against him, pardoned Jack Johnson. I thought it was a good thing. But my take on this is, I think the president should use this power to maybe help some people who aren't celebrities. I mean, there's so many stories last week about this Nashville man who is being thrown back in prison after he was accidentally let out early. He seems to have his life in order. He seems to be on the straight and narrow. Why not pardon somebody like that, or just a regular person who, look, I mean, these things affect them a whole lot more than the celebrities. I think Trump should look to more, unheralded people and bring them out and maybe give them pardons instead.
That's a great take. Celebrities are naturally going to be more flashy, but the White House definitely has a unique opportunity to really put some weight behind some really personal stories that can truly make a difference in normal people's lives. So we'll have to keep an eye and see what he does next. Next up, the media is attacking her meeting with President Trump about prison reform. Check this out.
Forget about the fact that Kim Kardashian is here at the White House today and what planet that is anything resembling normal, because it's not. She shouldn't be here talking about prison reform. It's very nice that she is here, but that's not a serious thing to have happened here at the White House. But
So that was CNN's Jim Acosta, and he clearly had some strong feelings about this meeting. I think regardless of what you think about celebrities meeting with the president, whether it's Obama, Trump, Bush, Clinton, whoever, you have to admit that they do shed a light on these issues. That in and of itself is valuable. And when it comes to media hypocrisy, Obama kind of had a revolving door. I mean, John Legend, Beyonce, Jay-Z, the list goes on and on. So is it because it's President Trump meeting with Kim Kardashian that all of a sudden this has become a problem?
That definitely seems to be it. I mean, they were talking about an issue that I think has a lot of bipartisan support. They're talking about criminal justice reform, basically, and things like this. So, these are not necessarily issues that are really divisive. I think there are a lot of people that are willing to talk and willing to communicate about that. And this idea that celebrities or athletes can't go to the White House and talk to the president. We've seen so many sports franchises refuse essentially to go see the president after victories. I think that's a real problem. I don't necessarily say, hey, we should trust in celebrities to know what they are talking about and all these issues. But at the same time, if they go there, I think it's a good thing for the country. It shows there's some special relationship between the president and the citizens of the United States. And I don't think it's a problem. I think the attacks are just frankly just absurd and hypocritical.
I agree. I think you have to acknowledge that they aren't always necessarily policy experts, but they have their own contributions they can bring. All right, next up, this was a very touching moment this week. President Trump signed the Right to Try bill into law, and this cute little boy stole the show.
So I want to thank you.
So I thought this was great on so many levels. Number one, he campaigned on, passing something like Right to Try. He talked about it in State of the Union. So that in and of itself, I thought was a huge victory that should get more coverage, but also how adorable to kind of see the softer side of the president that naturally we're not going to see a lot, with this cute little boy who was clearly just elated to be next to the president, and that hug was absolutely precious.
Yeah, that definitely was. That was a good moment for this. And as you said, the policy itself is very important. This right to try law, which allows people to basically take experimental drugs earlier on in the process where the FDA has to approve them, giving people a chance. I mean, maybe people that are very sick at the end of their lives who are trying something. I think this contrasts to what happened in California, where Governor Jerry Brown rejected it, yet also signed legislation that was assisted suicide. You know, if you can try to kill yourself, why not try to be able to save yourself? And I think that's what the underlying idea on these laws is, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a great argument, and good on President Trump and the administration. Next up, so the United States and North Korea Summit is still in the news. It looks like it'll be on. The president has had several meetings. So has Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Watch him.
Our two countries face a pivotal moment in our relationship in which it could be nothing short of tragic to let this opportunity go to waste. In my conversations with Chairman Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang, and today with Vice Chairman Kim Young-chol, I have been very clear that President Trump and the United States' objective is very consistent and well known: the complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
So after some hesitation, not sure what's going to happen next, it really does look like the summit will happen. The president met with a North Korean delegation very recently. But I think you have to applaud Mike Pompeo's leadership and the people surrounding the president as well. Clearly, their strategy as of now is working.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, there's the attacks on the summit, and I think some of it's justified. We don't know if anything's going to come out of the summit. We don't know if there's going to be a denuclearization process or any of these things. But it has been a big step. At the very least, we've already released some, North Korea's already released some political prisoners who were there. That is a big deal. I think we should always celebrate when prisoners are released from foreign tyrannical countries. So that's a good thing. I think there are positive steps, and look, every American should be hopeful that something happens out of this. North Korea has been a thorn in the side of the world for a very long time. If some progress is made on this, that's a very big deal.
It's huge and a long time coming, so we can only hope that the summit goes through. All right, next up, former Obama staffer Ben Rhodes was absolutely devastated after the Hillary Clinton loss. This video has gone viral. Check this out.
I just came outside to try to process all this. It's a lot to process. I mean, I can't even. I can't. I mean, I can't. I can't put it into words. I don't know what the words are. I mean, it's.
What do you make of kind of the Twitter storm it's caused?
Well, I mean, I could kind of understand this. I mean, having the Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel playing as we see the very sad clip there from Ben Rhodes. And this whole HBO documentary, I think, was initially meant to be a kind of celebration of Obama's people after Hillary Clinton was supposed to win the election. And of course, it became just this montage of all these Obama people really sad and down that they know that Obama's legacy is going to be undone by the next administration. And I think it was a good thing. Ben Rhodes didn't create a lot of goodwill in the last few years when, of course, there's that big New York Times story about how he manipulated the press to get the Iran deal done. So there's a lot of bad will around Ben Rhodes. And certainly a lot of people on the right, they see this video, it kind of makes them happy. It makes them happy that Trump won in 2016.
All right. Next up, underreported, President Trump is making it easier to drain the swamp. Now, Jarrett, you've written a lot about this, so can you kind of break it down what has happened recently?
So this was a really important executive order just before Memorial Day weekend, so it didn't get a lot of press, but it does change some of the rules when it comes to bureaucrats in the administration, the civil service. There's almost 3 million of them. It makes some of the rules so it's easier to fire the really bad ones. It shortens the process of getting rid of them, and it changes some of the rules regarding their union activity. They can't spend as much time on union activity while on work hours. And I think these are really big steps to what we call civil service reform. And if Trump wants to talk, he's always talked about draining the swamp. He's had this kind of Andrew Jackson populist persona. I mean, this is the swamp right here. It's the nearly 3 million federal bureaucrats who can not lose their job for almost any reason, who are a kind of permanent class in Washington, D.C. And so I think this is a great move by Trump. More needs to be done. Congress needs to step into this issue to have more reforms created. But this is a really big step in the right direction. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, a lot of moves being made. Lastly, the jobs report came out yesterday, and we are at a record low employment rate. What do you make about this? I don't know if we should necessarily be surprised because he's done so much with the economy. Now, a lot in the media were upset because he tweeted, last night or a couple nights ago, alluding to that the numbers were going to be good, but they clarified he didn't have the report early. He just was excited.
Yeah, he had a lot to be excited about, it turns out. That the unemployment, it's a record. It hasn't been this low for 50 years. That's a big deal. And not just that. GDP is growing at a rate of over 3%, something that people said wasn't going to be possible. And I think this is a big deal. Now, certainly there's a lot of criticism right now because Trump is pursuing a lot of these tariff policies that I think a lot of people don't like. They think may hamper that growth, and I certainly hope not, but that's possible. But at the same time, there's a lot of good things happening right now. We haven't felt this confident about the American economy in a very long time, and I think that's great for the United States. This is what America's all about. It's about the champion of growth and industry, and this is a great thing.
Yeah, it is, and economic success is certainly something that all Americans can and should celebrate. Well, thank you all for joining us this week. We'll see you back here next week. Same time, same place. Have a great weekend.